everyone. Welcome back to Personal Growth Talks podcast. I'm your host, Jason.
And I'm Julia, your co-host. We're so happy you're here with us today.
Today, we're talking about something we all feel at some point: fear of failure.
Yes, it's that little voice in our head that says, what if I'm not good enough? Or what if I try and it goes wrong?
Right. Fear of failure can stop people from trying new things, like starting a business, learning a new skill, or even speaking up in a meeting.
Or for many of our listeners, it might be fear of speaking English, right?
Exactly. You're afraid you'll make mistakes, so maybe you don't speak at all. But here's the truth: we all make mistakes.
Yes, even native speakers. But still, the fear feels very real. Why is that?
Well, I think it starts when we're young. We learn that mistakes are bad. In school, if we fail a test, we feel embarrassed. So, we start to believe that failing means we're not good enough.
And society often tells us we have to be perfect. Social media doesn't help. It shows everyone's best moments, not their failures.
That's true, but the problem is, when we're afraid to fail, we stop ourselves from growing.
Yes, fear becomes a wall that blocks us from our dreams.
So today, we're going to break down that wall, step by step. We'll talk about where this fear comes from, how it affects us, and most importantly, how to overcome it.
And we'll share some real-life stories too, so you know you are not alone in this.
Let's do this together. Ready?
I'm ready. Let's help our listeners face that fear with courage.
All right. So we talked about how fear of failure feels. But let's go a little deeper. What is fear of failure, really?
Good question. Fear of failure is not just being afraid. It's the strong feeling that if we fail, something bad will happen. Maybe we'll feel ashamed, or people will laugh, or we'll lose something important.
Yes, it's not just about the failure itself. It's about what we think failure means about us.
Exactly. Many people think if I fail, it means I'm a loser, but that's not true at all.
Right. Failure doesn't mean you're bad. It just means something didn't work. That's all.
Let me give an example. Imagine a child learning to ride a bike. They fall many times, but we don't say, you're a failure. We say, get up and try again.
Yes. But when we become adults, we stop thinking like that. We think we have to be perfect on the first try.
And that's where the fear starts. We don't want to look stupid, we don't want to feel pain, so we stop trying new things.
Some of this fear also comes from our past. Maybe we failed before, and someone made fun of us. That memory stays with us.
Yes, or maybe our parents or teachers were very strict. So we grew up thinking failure is something to avoid at all costs.
But the truth is, failure is normal. Everyone fails. And people who succeed the most usually failed the most too.
That's powerful. So fear of failure is really a fear of feeling pain, shame, or being judged.
Exactly. But it's all in the mind. It's a story we tell ourselves.
And the good news is, we can change that story.
Yes, we can. And that's what we'll keep exploring today: how to change your mindset and face failure with confidence.
So to our listeners, don't worry. If you feel this fear, you're not weak. You're human.
That's right. And being human means we can learn and grow, even from failure. So now that we understand what fear of failure really is, let's talk about how it affects our life.
Yes, fear of failure can really hold us back in so many ways, even if we don't always notice it.
For example, have you ever wanted to start something new, a business, a course, or even a relationship, but stopped because you thought, what if I fail?
Oh yes, many times. I remember I wanted to start a YouTube channel, but I was scared. I thought, what if nobody watches? What if I look silly? So I didn't start for 2 years.
Wow, 2 years! And I'm sure many of our listeners feel the same way. Fear of failure causes procrastination. We keep waiting and waiting, and never take action.
Exactly. And it also creates low confidence. We begin to doubt ourselves even before we try.
Yes, and when we don't try, we miss opportunities. We don't grow, we don't learn, and we start to feel stuck.
Another thing is, it affects our mental health. Fear can make us feel anxious, nervous, and even sad.
True, it's like carrying a heavy bag on your back every day. You can't move freely.
And sometimes, fear of failure can stop people from doing simple things, like speaking English in front of others.
That's a big one. Many people understand English, but they don't speak because they're afraid of making mistakes.
But here's the thing, mistakes are how we learn. If we don't speak, we don't grow.
So true. Fear of failure doesn't just stop big dreams, it also blocks daily progress.
Right. So, if we want to grow in life, in language, in relationships, we have to face that fear.
It's okay to be afraid, but don't let fear make your decisions.
Yes, you can feel the fear and still move forward.
Exactly. And the more you take small steps, the less power fear will have over your life.
So, to everyone listening, think about this. What is one thing you didn't do because you were afraid to fail?
And what could change in your life if you just gave yourself permission to try? So, Julia, we've talked about how fear of failure can stop us from living our best life. But now, let's flip the idea.
Yes, because here's the truth. Failure is not the end. It's part of the journey to success.
Absolutely. In fact, many successful people failed a lot before they made it.
Do you have an example, Jason?
Sure. Let's take Michael Jordan, one of the greatest basketball players ever. Did you know he was cut from his high school basketball team?
No way, that's hard to believe.
Yep, but he didn't give up. He trained harder. He used that failure to push himself. And now, he's a legend.
Wow, that's inspiring. I also read about J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter. She was rejected by 12 publishers before someone finally said yes.
12 times. Imagine if she stopped after the first rejection.
We would have never had Harry Potter.
Exactly. These stories show that failure is not something to be afraid of. It's actually a step forward.
Yes, every time we fail, we learn something new. We get stronger, we grow.
Let me share a personal story. Years ago, I started a small business. I put a lot of time and money into it, but it failed.
Oh no, that must have been tough.
It was. I felt sad and even embarrassed. But after a while, I looked back and saw how much I had learned. From marketing, managing money, talking to customers, everything.
So that failure gave you skills and experience?
Exactly. And the next time I started something, I was smarter, more prepared. That's the gift of failure. It teaches you what works and what doesn't.
That's such a powerful message. I failed too. I remember forgetting my lines in a live event. I wanted to quit after that.
But you didn't.
No, I practiced more. I learned how to calm myself down. And now, I speak with confidence. That failure helped me grow.
So, listeners, remember this. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of success.
Yes, every great story has moments of failure. It's what you do after the failure that makes the difference.
So don't fear failure. Welcome it. Learn from it. Use it as fuel.
Because each failure is just a lesson on your way to success.
So far, we've talked about what fear of failure is and why it's part of success. Now, let's look at something important. The signs that show you might be afraid to fail.
Yes, because sometimes we don't even realize it. We just say, I'll do it later, or it's not the right time, but deep inside, it's really fear holding us back.
Exactly. One common sign is procrastination, when you keep delaying things over and over again.
Like saying you'll start studying English tomorrow, but tomorrow never comes.
Right. You keep waiting for the perfect time, but it never feels perfect, so you never start.
Another sign is perfectionism. This means you don't want to do something unless it's perfect.
Yes, and the problem with perfectionism is you never feel good enough, so you don't finish anything.
Here's another one. Avoiding new challenges. You stick with what's safe because you don't want to make mistakes.
That's a big one. You might say no to a new job or avoid speaking in English class just because you're afraid to mess up.
And sometimes people even talk themselves down. They say things like, I can't do this or I'm not smart enough.
Yes, that's called negative self-talk, and it's a strong sign of fear. Yes, that's called negative self-talk, and it's a strong sign of fear.
Let's quickly list the signs for our listeners. Procrastination, perfectionism, avoiding new things, negative self-talk, fear of being judged.
And if you recognize any of these in yourself, it's okay. You're not alone.
The important thing is to notice them and understand why they happen. That's the first step to change.
Yes, once you see the signs, you can start facing them with courage.
And remember, being afraid doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're human.
All right, so we've talked about the signs of fear. Now, let's move into something powerful. How to shift your mindset from fear to growth. Totally agree. Have you heard of the growth mindset?
Yes, it's the belief that your skills and abilities can grow with time and effort. You're not stuck with what you have.
Exactly. On the other hand, a fixed mindset says, I'm either good at it or I'm not. That's what keeps people afraid to try.
Let's give an example. Imagine someone who says, I'm bad at English. I'll never learn it. That's a fixed mindset.
Now, if that person changes their thinking to, I'm not good yet, but I can improve with practice, that's a growth mindset.
Yes, that small shift in thinking can change everything.
Let's break it down for our listeners. Here are 3 easy ways to build a growth mindset. Replace I can't with I can learn.
So instead of saying, I can't do public speaking, say, I can learn how to speak better. See mistakes as lessons.
Every mistake is a teacher. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Instead of saying, I failed. Celebrate small progress.
Even if you improve just 1%, it's still progress. Don't wait for big success to feel proud.
That's right. Growth is slow, but steady. And the more you believe you can grow, the more you actually will.
Also, surrounding yourself with people who have a growth mindset helps too. People who lift you up, not put you down.
Yes, positive energy is powerful. It helps you stay focused on growth, not fear.
So if you're listening right now and thinking, I always run from failure, just know this. You can change. You can train your mind just like a muscle.
And it starts with a simple thought. I'm not there yet, but I'm on my way.
Beautiful. Let's keep growing together.
Okay, Julia, we've talked a lot about fear of failure and how to shift our mindset. But let's be honest, sometimes failure still happens.
Yes, it does. Even with the best mindset, we all fall down sometimes. The question is, how do we handle it?
Exactly. And the first step is to remember this. Failure doesn't mean it's the end.
Right. When something goes wrong, don't say, I'm a failure. Instead, say, this failed, but I can learn from it.
That's a powerful shift. So the second step is to pause and reflect. Ask yourself, what went wrong? And what can I do better next time?
Yes, you don't have to blame yourself. Just take a moment, breathe, and learn.
Let me give a real example. A few years ago, I gave a public talk. I thought it went well, but later, someone told me I spoke too fast and was hard to understand.
Ouch, that must have hurt a bit.
It did. But instead of feeling bad for days, I listened to the feedback. And next time, I slowed down and spoke more clearly. I handled the failure by learning, not quitting.
That's such a good example. I also had a moment like that. I was part of a group project and I forgot to send my part on time. The whole team got delayed. I felt terrible.
So what did you do?
I apologized and I made sure to create a system to remind myself next time. That mistake helped me become more organized.
See? That's how we grow. So here are 3 simple steps for our listeners on how to handle failure. Feel it, but don't stay in it. It's okay to feel sad or disappointed. Just don't live there. Reflect and learn. Ask, what did I learn? Or, how can I improve? Try again with better tools. Use what you learned and take another step forward.
And remember, failure is feedback, not a final result.
Beautifully said. If you fall, it's not the end. It's a chance to grow stronger.
So, to our listeners, next time you fail, don't panic. Take a breath, reflect, and rise again.
Because every failure is just a stepping stone to success. All right, Julia, now it's time to get really practical. Let's give our listeners some simple, clear tips they can use to start overcoming the fear of failure today.
Yes, let's do it. These tips are easy to understand, but they can make a big difference if you practice them.
All right, here's the first one. Start small. Don't try to do everything at once. Take small steps.
Exactly. If you're afraid to speak English, don't give a speech. Just say one sentence to a friend. Then do it again tomorrow.
Yes? Tip number 2. Write down your fear. Sometimes, when we write our fear on paper, it feels smaller.
I love that one. You can ask yourself, what am I really afraid of? And what's the worst that could happen?
Right. Most of the time, we realize the fear isn't as big as we thought.
Okay, tip number 3, visualize success instead of failure. Close your eyes and imagine things going well.
That's so helpful. If you're going to a job interview, don't imagine yourself failing. Picture yourself smiling and speaking with confidence.
Yes, your mind listens to the pictures you create.
Here's tip number 4. Talk to someone you trust. Sometimes just saying your fear out loud makes it easier to deal with.
That's true. A good friend, a teacher, a mentor, someone who listens and encourages you.
Tip number 5. Reward yourself for trying, even if you fail. Trying is a win.
Yes, say to yourself, I did it, I tried. That's brave. Be proud of that.
So let's quickly repeat the 5 tips for our listeners. Start small. Write down your fear. Visualize success. Talk to someone. Reward effort, not just results.
These tips are simple, but they work if you use them again and again.
And the best part? You don't have to be fearless. You just have to be brave enough to take the next step.
Even a small step forward is better than standing still in fear.
Now that we've shared some tips to overcome fear, let's talk about something even more powerful. Daily habits that can help you build courage over time.
Yes, because courage isn't something you're born with. It's something you build step by step, day by day.
Exactly. So let's give our listeners a few small habits they can practice every day to become more confident and brave.
Okay, first habit. Do one small thing that scares you. It doesn't have to be big, just something a little outside your comfort zone.
Yes, like speaking one sentence in English to a new person, or asking a question in class.
Right, small actions build big courage.
Here's the second habit. Write down your wins every day. At the end of the day, write one thing you're proud of, even if it's small.
That's a great one. It helps you focus on progress instead of fear. Even if you just tried, that's a win.
Third habit, practice positive self-talk. Talk to yourself like you would talk to a friend.
Yes, instead of saying, I always mess up, say, I'm learning and I'm doing my best.
Fourth habit, read or listen to something inspiring. Podcasts, books, or even quotes can lift your spirit.
Exactly. Feeding your mind with positive messages gives you the strength to keep going.
So here's a quick list of daily habits to build courage. Do one small, brave thing. Write down your wins. Use kind self-talk. Listen to inspiration.
These habits are easy to start, and they make a big difference if you stick with them.
Remember, courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing to act, even when you're afraid.
And these small habits help you take those steps with more strength each day.
Well, Julia, we've talked a lot today about fear of failure. What it is, how it affects us, and how to overcome it.
Yes, Jason. And I hope everyone listening knows one very important thing. You are not alone.
That's right. Everyone, yes, everyone, feels afraid to fail sometimes. Even people you think are confident.
Fear is a part of being human. It's normal. But it doesn't have to control you.
Remember, courage isn't about not feeling fear. It's about taking action even when you feel afraid.
So, if you're scared right now, maybe about a new challenge or trying something different, know this, that fear is okay.
And it's a sign that you're about to grow.
Yes, growth comes when you step outside your comfort zone.
So here's a little challenge for our listeners. Take one small step today toward something you've been afraid to try.
It could be as simple as saying hello in English, writing your fears down, or trying something new.
And celebrate that step, because that step is your victory.
We believe in you. You have the power to overcome fear and reach your dreams.
Thank you for listening to Personal Growth Talks podcast. We hope this episode helps you face fear and move forward with courage.
See you next time. And remember, you are stronger than your fear.